Hello, you are watching a fragment of the Countdown program from January 19, 2023. Today is Thursday. See the full version on Patreon. And thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. On the eve of tomorrow's meeting of NATO defense ministers at the Ramstein base near the Kremlin, especially violent patients are already throwing a tantrum. The first in a white-hot fit was the clown Rod Dmitry Medvedev. In his Telegram channel, the alcoholic warned the West about the nuclear consequences if Russia were defeated in the war in Ukraine. Losing a nuclear power in a conventional war could provoke the start of a nuclear war. The nuclear powers did not lose the major conflicts on which their fate depends, end of quote, so that there are no illusions that only a drunken bobblehead has gone astray on the nuclear issue. We note the remark of the cave political scientist Andrei Suzdaltsev. Ukraine demands that Russia capitulate. And so confidently and persistently, as if Kyiv already has a nuclear bomb, but Russia doesn't, end of quote. And after all, there are plenty of such thinkers in the decayed empire, almost every second one. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Zelensky hurt the pride of the country's chief nuclear engineer by saying at a breakfast in Davos that he did not know with whom to negotiate, and whether Putin was even alive. I'm not sure that the president of Russia, who sometimes appears, TV people know about chroma key. I don't quite understand what he is. I don't fully understand that he is alive. I don't know who makes decisions. What circle of people, Zelensky said. Such rhetoric excludes even remotely the thought of some kind of negotiations, leaving the solution of the conflict of the armed forces of Ukraine on the battlefield. And Putin himself plans to confer with his accomplices at the Security Council, and also on Friday, the 20th, probably, in order to develop some kind of retaliatory measures following the results of Ramstein. So far, it is not clear whether Germany will decide to supply Ukraine with Leopard 2 tanks or not. Olaf Scholz, in a telephone conversation with Biden, said that he was ready to supply these tanks, but only on the condition that the states also supply their Abrams to Ukraine. We are among those who do the most to provide military assistance to Ukraine, the Chancellor said, listing the military equipment already delivered, the listing taking almost 4 minutes. After that, Scholz added, "We never do anything on our own, but together with others, especially the United States, who are very important in this common task of protecting the independence and sovereignty of Ukraine." However, while the Joe Biden administration is preparing to announce a major new U.S. arms package for Ukraine on Friday, the Abrams is not expected to be included in that package. All this worries European leaders. For example, Polish Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki wants to form a broad alliance of countries, each of which will supply Ukraine with several Leopards, which would make up a large tank battle group. But so far only Finland has publicly declared its readiness to participate in such a program. Many other countries are looking reservedly at Germany. Meanwhile, judging by the howls of Putin and Lavrov from the cave on Wednesday, the war is entering a new phase, and the final will depend on its outcome. Putin is not ready for defeat. He will throw as much meat into battle as he needs and pummel Ukraine with missiles until he turns it into one giant Mariupol. By the way, Lavrov's verbal perversions in the form of comparisons of Russians with the victims of the Jewish Holocaust have already caused a wave of indignation. The European Jewish Congress issued a statement. "We are shocked and outraged by this shameful comparison made by Minister Lavrov between the actions of a coalition of democratic countries and Hitler's persecution and murder of 6 million Jews during the Holocaust." In response, political scientist Sergei Markov waves his fan of boyish arguments. Lavrov is absolutely right. Russians today are the new Jews of the 21st century. Against whom Europe is pursuing an open policy of racist discrimination and repression. And the policy of genocide against Russians in the Donbass has already begun. And Europe supports this policy of genocide, end of quote. That is, we started the war to end it. By killing, we end the suffering of the victims, and therefore we are saints, and whoever considers us maniacs commits an act of genocide similar to the Jewish Holocaust. Do not take it as a nationalist attack. But when Lavrov, Kalantarian, Simonyan, Kyosayan and Solovyov Shapiro, who joined them, How about the Nazi solution of the Russian question? This is both ridiculous and schizophrenic. Orwell is spinning in his grave. But with all this fascist mental hospital, you definitely need to do something. After all, belated appeasement is fraught with the growth of nuclear mushrooms on the horizon, with which especially violent propagandists are already hallucinating, and no one wants this.
Today we know that there are very big threats to the world, to our country, and to the whole human race, because some crazy people had the idea that the great Russian power, which has powerful weapons, is inhabited by very strong people who from a generation in a generation have always been motivated to win, who have never surrendered to any enemy, who have always come out victorious, that they can either be defeated in the current conditions, or, as they say now, reformatted, that is, to impose on them certain values that it is impossible to name values, so that they are like everyone else and obey those who have the power to control most of the world. This desire to defeat Russia today has acquired, as we know, very dangerous forms. We pray to the Lord that He will enlighten those madmen and help them understand that any desire to destroy Russia will mean the end of the world.
Become our patrons now and look further in this program. Estonia, Sweden, Poland and the United States are forming new military aid packages to Ukraine, and Republicans in the U.S. Congress are calling on Biden to urgently transfer weapons to Ukraine that will ensure victory over Russia. The European Parliament today voted to create a tribunal for Putin. 472 parliamentarians, against, only 19. It seems that it is the tribunal that will put an end to this war, as well as to the existence of a red-brown empire. In the Samara region, Mobiki opposed being sent for roasting and raised a revolt against the leadership. Nobody has forgotten Makiivka. Putin took a dip in the Epiphany hole. He plunged like Moo, but he swam out like a Baskerville dog, ready to bite the West in half. But the Kremlin will not distribute photos and videos of Putin's participation in Epiphany bathing. Probably, everything is so scary that it is better not to shock the public. Two main topics are being discussed in the cave: the seizure of property from traders who left Russia and the possible shutdown of YouTube. They propose to transfer the apartments of enemies to orphans, and few people believe in blocking YouTube. In Syansk, Irkutsk region, a water intake was consecrated. According to the mayor of the city, Oleg Borovsky, thanks to this, within 2 days, residents of the city will be able to touch the holy spring without leaving their homes. It's time to go even further and, with a bold swing, consecrate the sewers. And that's all for today. See the full version on Patreon. And thanks to everyone who is becoming our patrons right now. I hugged everyone. See you tomorrow on Friday Live. Glory to Ukraine.